Hi, everybody. This is VolleyTalk with Powercore 360. I'm just going to connect to Instagram and then we will start this week's live stream. All right, we are all connected and good. So, one second. Sorry, I just had to mute the live stream on Instagram. All right, we are all good. So, let's get started. This is Powercore 360 Volley Talk. I'm Darian Chwialkowski, your regular host on this weekly every Wednesday at 4 p.m. And this week we have Kelly Fiesler with us. Kelly, if you want to introduce yourself to, you've been on a couple times, but if you want to reintroduce yourself to everybody.
Yeah, so my name is Kelly Fiesler, and I am a physical therapist that works with Powercore 360. I've been practicing in the orthopedic sports medicine arena for about 27 years, and I have been coaching at the junior national elite levels for about the past 15 to 17 years. So I've been around volleyball for a long time. My primary focus of practice over the years has been orthopedics and sports medicine. But in the last probably 10 to 15 years, I've focused more on functional movement, establishing better movement patterns, essential athletic movements, and then returning athletes to their sport after rehab, actually. So they rehab with a physical therapist in sports medicine. And then I've focused on a lot of volleyball players, getting them back on the court and having them compete at the level that they left prior to their injury. So that's been my focus.
Yeah, awesome. Lots of good knowledge Kelly is going to share with us today. So today's live stream is really exciting. We are going to focus on recovery post tournaments or games, anything like that, or even just a really long week of practice. Recovery you can use for all of that, even during those times. And then also we're going to go through some activation exercises live where I'm being the athlete and Kelly is telling me the exercises that I should be doing pre warm up for the game to really activate your muscles and get them ready for playing. So we're going to go through that, which is really exciting. I don't think we've ever shown live movements before. So that will be a first on this podcast / live stream, which is super exciting. So if you are listening to this and you can't see it, sorry. You can watch it on YouTube if you want to see the movements rather than just listening to what we're saying. But without further ado, let's kind of hop right into this today because we kind of have a lot to cover. We're going to start with recovery today and what you should do post-tournament, post-game, anything like that, practice. Kelly, can you walk us through what maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different recovery things are that athletes can do?
Sure. Well, first, let's talk a little bit about the challenges of recovery in today's volleyball world. Athletes don't really get ample time to go through a recovery period because they're playing all weekend and then they go right back into intensive practices, and it sets them up for overtime fatigue injuries. So a fatigue injury would be whether it is an overuse injury because you've used jumping for your knees, swinging with your arm, and you never had an opportunity to truly recover, let those muscles rest, get good blood flow, get good nutrition. And then, our recovery is required for our muscles to become stronger and growth and all of those science things that we're not going to go into. But we're not really set up for that in today's competition world. So one of the number one things I would say is even like going into your performance, what were your last 3 or 4 days of rest and recovery after practice to be at the highest level you can be at for competition? That's really important. A couple of the systems that get fatigued when we compete or we train at a high level is our physiological system. That's our heart, our lungs, our musculoskeletal system. many others, but those are the ones that we all think about the most. And then our psychological aspects, right? Our brain needs recovery just as much as our physical body does as well. So, one of the number one things that you can do to prep going into competition is sleep. Sleep is the number one performance enhancing drug that we can use to get ourselves in the best, the most optimal state to be able to compete. So I wanted to lead with that because I think, especially young athletes, they're doing so many things along with their volleyball program and their school and whatnot. And sleep tends to get put on the back burner. And actually, if you want to improve your performance, if you do nothing else but change your sleep patterns, that's going to help you out a ton during your tournament and then following your tournament. But going back to recovery programs. So the crazy thing is we go to a tournament and we play multiple matches, right? We play multiple matches on the first day. If it's a 2-day, we're playing a ton. If it's a 3-day, they're balanced out a little bit more. But by the third day, you could be playing upwards to what, 4, 8. If you go into the championships, you're up to somewhere between 10 and 12 matches that you've played. And if each of those matches goes to 3, that's a lot of volleyball. So during the tournament, one thing that you can do to recover is make sure that you are hydrating throughout your entire day. Water is great, but there are also some really natural drinks that you can drink that will help you recover. And I'm not going to name drop any of those good ones, but you're probably not going to find them on the shelf of your local convenience store, right? So taking something that's going to help your electrolyte balance while you go through your day is really important. So hydration, a ton of hydration, that's a big thing that you can do. So let's say that you've played a few matches and it's the first night, and all you really want to do is go hang with your peeps and go get some good food and hang out and run around the hotel. That's probably not in your best interest. So a few things that I would tell athletes to do during their tournament and then following their tournament are, one thing that I love to tell my athletes to do is doing some gentle, prolonged stretching after they play, not necessarily in between matches, because we don't want to get our muscles in too much of a relaxed state before we're going to go high intensity performance. So I'm talking about at the end of your day, at the end of your tournament, at the end of practice, do some nice prolonged stretches. There's a ton of different things that you can do. The ones that I would focus on for my athletes would be hamstrings, the back side of your leg, your quadricep, the front side of your leg, your calf muscles, stretching out your back and stretching out your torso, your thoracic area, right? Because we do a ton of rotation in volleyball, and it's really good to help us loosen that up after so many reps of serving and attacking the ball. And then, of course, I'm a big fan of doing some gentle stretches for your shoulder girdle because it gets quite overused in volleyball. So hydration and stretching, some more passive recovery things that you can do. One would be hot cold contrast. Now, when you're in a hotel, you might not have access to a nice tub, but you can get similar effects, not quite the same as plunging, but similar effects of doing warm to cold shower, multiple rounds, a minute at a time. What it does is it helps your body recover from that internal temperature that we create when we're competing, as well as a bunch of other things that happen on the cellular level that we're not going to talk about, but that on the cellular level, that helps to regenerate your energy stores so that your muscles can recover faster and you can be ready to go the next day. One of my favorite things to do is compression of the legs, but not everybody can have access to those wonderful compression boots that you can put on and just lay there in your bed and have those boots pump, contract, relax to help improve recovery by increasing blood flow. And it actually is like a pump getting all of the fluids from the bottom of your foot to go up. They are absorbed through your vascular system. It goes in through your heart and your lungs. And then any extra fluids we might have on board from all of the heavy competition will end up going out when we go to the bathroom. So that's a really cool thing to have, but not everybody has access to that. So what I do and have done with my athletes at tournaments is if you lay on the floor or your hotel room on the bed and put your legs up the wall, having your legs up the wall, they're against gravity now, right? So gravity is pulling down on my legs. And what you're doing is you're essentially creating your own little pneumatic pumps, right? By having your legs up the wall, and it will help leg recovery a ton, right? So those are three of my favorite things for people to do is so lots of hydration, some gentle stretching, hot cold contrast, and then getting some compression or some natural pumping going on. One other thing that's great to do is just some gentle foam rolling, right? Foam rolling is super popular. There are people that are on either side of the fence of does it work? Does it not work? From an anecdotal or from my practical experience, I've found that when athletes or even general public foam roll after intense activity, it can help with muscle soreness. There's no science out there that's like definitely says that it helps with muscle recovery or that it definitely helps with performance the next day. We have science on both sides of the fence there, but it absolutely will help reduce muscle soreness. So those are the things that I would focus on with my athletes if they wanted to recover. The crazy thing is that it actually takes it's 48 to 72 hours to recover from intense activity. So think about that. That's kind of crazy because you don't get that in between the days of your tournaments. And then many times we're expected to be at practice on that Monday or Tuesday following the Sunday end of our tournament. So that's something to be thoughtful about, is that scientifically it really does take that long. So when you come back, and let's say you have Monday off, which would be awesome, instead of totally vegging out and laying on your couch on that Monday, the best thing to do is to do some movement, whether that's swimming or a gentle jog or a bicycle ride, maybe some dancing, anything that's really gentle that you enjoy doing. That's actually better than just vegging out on your couch on that Monday. So,
which everybody knows can feel great, but it's definitely not the best thing for you in that moment.
no, not really. The more you move, the better you're going to feel, especially with muscle soreness. You want to keep moving, not necessarily moving at that competition level, but you want to keep moving your body because that will assist you in recovering from muscle soreness.
Yeah, those are a lot of great tips for how you can recover. There's a lot of different options there, so you can really find what works best for your body specifically, and what feels best for you. If it's a combination of a few, if it's all of them, or just one of them, anything's better than nothing, especially for our young athletes out there that aren't doing anything right now.
Correct. And you don't need to get on the bandwagon of what's popular now for recovery. There's a ton of really cool things that are being brought to the forefront, that practices that have been used for hundreds of years that are kind of coming out and that are used more across the big pond. You don't have to do crazy things like that. I'm not that they're crazy, but like just more progressive things. There are some very basic things that you can do to help yourself recover. The one thing that I didn't mention that I just popped into my head is food. All right. Food is fuel. If you don't eat, you cannot recover. And what you eat is super important. And we're not going to go into the details of sports medicine diet and nutrition, but just keep in mind, the better the food you eat, the better you're going to feel and be able to compete throughout that weekend. And then the faster you're going to recover the week after getting ready for your next tournament. So I'm not saying don't have treats, but you got to really pay attention to fueling up after competition because your body needs energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I ditto that. That's a great point, Kelly. For all of our athletes out there, or anybody listening, parents, athletes, coaches, any questions or comments that you guys have about anything volleyball related, anything recovery, or we're about to get into some activation exercises. If you guys have any questions, please comment them. We will do our best to answer them while we are here and while we see your question. So don't be afraid to ask them today. But we're about to get into activation exercises. So these are exercises you're going to want to do before you play. And I am going to pretend to be the athlete here, and Kelly is going to walk me through the different exercises. So if any athlete, parents, coaches are watching this, you can see the exercises that we're saying to do before and implement some if you want to. So I'm going to move my camera so that way you guys can see everything that we're going to do. Just gonna move it over here.
And one thing that I would say, Darian, about the word activation. So there are two schools of thought on preparing for an event. I still see people out there doing prolonged stretching prior to competition, and that's really old school, right? Doing prolonged stretching, like I see athletes pulling on their arms and pulling and stretching, or really trying to stretch out their hamstrings and their quads and their glutes prior to competition. That's actually the worst thing that they could do, is do a long held stretch thinking that they're getting their muscles ready to perform. It actually increases their risk of injury because the muscle is relaxed and not activated. So what we like to teach, and a lot of people are using these, you see professional NBA players, they're doing active dynamic or dynamic warm up. And what they're doing is they're priming their muscles and their nervous system to be ready when they get out there to compete, to be ready to perform. It's like dialing up your body to be ready to perform at a higher level. So the first ones we're going to look at activating our hips, our legs, and our core. And it's a really easy thing that you can do. Darian's going to use part of our system today, where she's going to have a cuff and a band, and she's going to put her cuff around her ankle. If you don't have our system, that's okay. You can do these exercises similarly with a little looped band, okay? And when Darian's done, I'll show you I'll do a couple reps and show you how you can use this little loop to do the same thing. So Darian's got to walk away from the door, so she has a little bit of resistance on her band. So she's attached to a resistance band there on her ankle. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do knee or hip drive. So she's going to face the camera, face her back to her anchor. Yep. Scoot away so that's not like wet spaghetti. There you go. All right. She's going to stand on her right foot, and let's have active arms, like running arms, right? So your arms are going to be here. And she is going to drive her left knee up, kind of in a marching band position. And she's going to hold that for 5 seconds. And the reason we want that 5-second hold is tension over time. We want to get that muscle active. So she's going to drive it up, lift it a little higher, Darian, so you get some resistance. And she's going to hold for a 5 count. And then she'll set it down and she'll go right back up with that same leg. So drive it up. Good. She's standing tall in her right leg. Her abdominals are pulled in. Her shoulder blades are on her back. So not only is she activating, you put that down, her left leg, go ahead, drive it up again. Darian, where else can you feel this?
My booty, and I would say my core.
Good, right? So this is a leg, butt, pelvic, core warm up. All right. And so she'll do 5 reps on one side, 5 reps on the other. And she's going to repeat that 2 to 3 times. All right. And we don't want her to lift it up and down, up and down. We want her to drive it up. And yeah, we don't want that. We want to drive it up, and we want to hold and engage our muscles so that we can activate our muscles. We're also activating her nervous system in her foot, her ankle, and her knee, getting it ready. You guys in volleyball, you have to jump, you have to land, you have to change direction. That's going to prime your nervous system and your muscles to do what they need to do to, 1, perform better, and 2, reduce your risk of injury. All right, so the second one we're going to do, Darian is going to turn to her right. So her right shoulder is facing the door, just your right shoulder, your other shoulder.
Oh, okay.
There we go. And take your right foot and step it behind your band so that the band runs in front of your opposite ankle. Good. She's going to sit back into her hips, kind of like she's going to do a squat. Good. She's going to hold here. She's going to lift her left leg up to the side, leading with her knee, not her ankle. So lift that leg away. Hydrants, right, everybody? But we're going to hold. So you're going to lift and we're going to hold for a 5 count. Again, activating the standing leg a lot. We're activating her core and we're activating the leg she's lifting. And she is going to do 5 reps with a 5-second hold. So we all think about, maybe you want to step with that band the other way. I just didn't want you to trip. Go ahead and step in front of the band with your right foot. There you go. Now pull, see if that's better for you. There we go. Now, so a lot of times we're thinking about the moving part, right? Her left leg, which is really important, but we're going to be focused on our right leg a little bit more because it's really working to keep us from falling over and to stabilize. All right. So that's the hydrant, or in my world, hip abduction. All right. So now Darian's going to face her door. Good. Yep. And now she's going to take her left foot and with a straight leg, just pull your foot behind you just a little bit, Darian. Good. Now stand up nice and tall and bend your left knee, taking your heel towards your butt. That's your right knee. Or are you flipped maybe?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I'm flipped. Yeah.
Okay. So take your right knee, bend it. Nope. Lift your left heel to your booty. Hamstring curl.
Oh, gotcha.
Hamstring curl. There we go. And pull, 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 pull. We're going to hold for 5 seconds. So we're activating her standing leg and her glutes on her standing leg, and we're activating her hamstring on her cuffed foot. And she can go ahead and put it down. She's going to lift that back up and hold. Good. Set it down. Lift it back up and hold. And you want to be working fairly hard here, right? So if it was too easy, Darian would step further away from the door to give herself a little bit more resistance. Yep. The key thing is when Darian lifts that foot, notice that her thigh stays straight up and down. She's not pulling her knee in front of her. So the cool thing that's happening here is she's activating the backside of her leg, her hamstring, and she's lengthening or giving like an active stretch to the front side of her leg in her quadricep muscle. All right. So the whole time we're doing these, we're focused on activation, stabilization, getting our muscles and our nervous systems firing to prepare us to compete. So those are the leg ones that I would do. I would have my athletes do. And if you watch a little bit, you'll see collegiate players, professional players. If you ever get to watch their warm up, they're doing these as well. I want to show you real quickly with this little loop. So if you don't have anything to attach, and even if you do have Powercore 360 gear, but it's hard to travel and find somewhere to attach, you're going to put this around the tops of your laces so that you guys can see that, right? And I'm going to do the same thing here now with this little loop. I'm going to stay nice and tall. I'm going to hold it up and then set it down. And I'm going to drive it up and hold it. So you can do the same exercises, with my little loop. Okay, so that's a really great way to get yourself primed and ready to perform. Don't skip your warm-up, kiddos. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
All right, so the next thing we'll go to is shoulder. And there are a ton of different things that you can do to activate, but we're going to work on activating the muscles that support our shoulder joint. Okay. Key factors for shoulder health are really good stabilizers of the shoulder blade. And obviously warming up our rotator cuff, our biceps, our triceps, those all support our shoulders. So Darian is going to make that into a little make your cuff into a ring if you can. So the first thing that she's going to do, she's going to face the door for me. Good. And you're going to have a straight straight right arm. Good. And you're just going to step back one big step, Darian. Good. And now just pull that left arm back. You know what? I can't really see you. So let's do this. Just choke up on your band, walk forward, and just choke up on the band and hold it instead. Perfect. All right. Standing up nice and tall. She's going to take her shoulder blades and gently pull them onto her back, kind of taking them towards her back pockets. And she's just going to pull that arm straight. She's going to hold for a 5 count. Okay. And then relax. And hold for a 5 count. Good. And relax. And hold. Good. And then this is a really great exercise to do with a partner. If she had a partner, she could use both ends of her band and pull at the same time. But that's one way to activate the back side of your shoulder and your shoulder blade muscles. Now she's going to turn to her right and face halfway. Yep. Rotate a half. Good. Now her elbow's going to be at her side, right? She's going to stand up nice and tall. You might need to give yourself a little more band there, Darian. I'm not sure how heavy that is. You're going to take a nice stance up nice and tall. And then she's going to actually keep her elbow tucked to her side, and she's going to rotate her hand away from her belly. Good. And then slowly let it come forward. Rotate her hand away from her belly. Slowly let it go forward. So now she's working on the back side of her shoulder, her scapular stabilizers, and her rotator cuff, her external rotator. She's just turning them on. They have a big job in the volleyball swing. They do a lot to decelerate the swing motion after contact of the ball. And we want our shoulder blade to be as stable as it can be, because that helps support our shoulder joint and all the tissues as well. Good. So that's external rotation for the rotator cuff. Now, Darian, go ahead, hold on to the band and spin around the other way. So keep holding on to the band. Good. So now she's going to do the opposite direction. So she's going to pull her rotator arm, pulling her hand towards her belly button. Good. And then she's going to open that back up and pull her hand towards her belly button. And we don't want to rush through these to start. Yes, you can do some more rapid movements, but honestly, unless you've trained the rotator cuff exercises and worked with someone, the last thing that you want to do is do ballistic movements until you really know what you're doing, okay? Ballistic just means fast in this sense. Good. So same thing. She's going to do like 2 sets of 10, get that really warmed up. Good. All right. So now the next one she's going to do is she's going to go ahead and I'm trying to think how we could do this. So now, Darian, what I want you to do is face the door. All right. And you're going to take your left hand and kind of cross it over to your right hand and cross it over to your left leg. Kind of across her body. Your thumb is going to be pointed up like you're going to hitchhike, right? Yep, you got it. Thumbs up. She's going to stand up nice and tall. Shoulder blades are slightly on her back. Belly button's drawn in. She's going to pull her arm up and out at a diagonal pattern. Straight arm there, Darian, on your next one. So she's going to keep her elbows straight, and she's going to pull up and across her body at an angle. Good. Darian, could you drop that band and turn and face us and show us the movement you were making?
Yeah.
Yep. So she's going to, yep, you don't need the band. So the band would be across her body. Thumb is up, and she's lifting up and across her body. There you go. Perfect. Yeah. Excellent. So she's just doing a little bit of turning on the deltoid muscles, again, shoulder blade muscles. Getting some stability there. And when you were doing it, Darian, was it just in your arm, or could you feel other parts of your body?
No, I'd say the back, definitely. You can feel it like
Yeah.
in the scap. So
Yep. So her back muscles are starting to fire. Her abdominals, I'm sure, were firing to hold her in place and not allow her to slouch. She had to be up nice and tall. So this is another good exercise to really warm up your shoulders. There's one other one that I would have you do, Darian. Go ahead and take your band out of the door, would you?
Yep.
Good. And I would, if I had a short loop, I would kind of do it like this. But Darian, you're going to hold on to yours and you're going to choke up on it so it's short. Yeah. Good. Maybe not. It depends. If that's a light band, go ahead and double it up. Otherwise, let the ends dangle. So she's going to have her arms, elbows bent like this. And she's just going to pull them apart a little bit. Hands and elbows lead together so they stay lined up. Good. And then bring them back in. And we're just going to out and in. Good. Now raise your arms up a little bit. And now do the same thing. Out and in. So again, our focus is the muscles around the shoulder girdle. And again, I want to point out, like, keep in mind, there are so many different exercises you can do. These are simple, right? They're accessible, they're simple, and they work for this situation. One other thing that I'd want to touch on is when you're warming up, like your team's doing an active warm up, right? Do some approach swings without swinging at the ball, focusing on jumping, landing, and holding your landing. Really warm up your body. You could skip, you can do single leg skips, you can do all sorts of things to get your body fired up and warm and ready for those crazy moments at the net, right? We teach land on 2 feet, right? Yes, there are moments where you land on 1 foot and your body has to be ready to respond to that situation. And then the last thing I want to touch on for warming up is when you go and get in hitting lines and you go to swing, you should not be swinging the hardest you can at your balls, right? Yes, it's so fun to jump up, no blocker. It's on a toss. There's, perfect situation. You should start your swings at about 50% swing for a few till you're warmed up, then go to 60, then maybe you get to 75, 80, but you should never do a max out swing ever, really, right? We never hit as hard as we possibly can, but your maximum swing should be about 90% of your greatest effort. We would never be swinging 100%. And if you want to argue that point, go ahead and read about swinging at a baseball or pitching a baseball or any of those other sports that have a lot more research behind controlling your swing level, controlling your pitch level, and all of those things. So make sure that you're warming up your swing. You don't go out and hit the ball as hard as you can on your first few swings in your warm up, because that is an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that a lot of athletes or parents or coaches that watch this, you can reference these. Like Kelly said, there is a lot out there, but these are simple, quick things that you can do. It maybe takes 5 to 10 minutes before you play each time. And the benefits of it are just huge compared to just going straight into a warm up that's like high knees, which is great still. But these activate your muscles prior to that, which is huge for your long-term success and your body health and hopefully avoiding injuries then in the future. So it's stuff that I didn't do when I was an athlete until I got to college. And then when I got to college, I noticed that my body really needed it. So if you can start getting in that habit of doing it and building your muscles up when you're younger, I think that's such a huge advantage that you'll have over a lot of your competition then that are wanting to play at the next level as well.
Absolutely. And the cool thing is these activation exercises, it's not heavy weight. You're not going to fatigue yourself before you go play. You're actually turning yourself on, and you could do these exercises. If you have 2 matches in a row, obviously you don't need to do them. But if you have a match and then you have 2 hours down, you need to do them again before you play that second match with your long break. It's not going to fatigue you. And the cool thing is that you stay activated and ready to go throughout your entire match. So
Honestly, it probably does. I don't know, Kelly, you can correct me if this is kind of off, but the activation seems to maybe help with recovery because your muscles are already activated a bit. So then it kind of plays into that recovery piece that we were talking about before. Obviously, you might still be sore, but
right. Yep. Well, anytime you can prepare your body at the best level you can prior to stepping onto the competition court, field, whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to set yourself up for better performance and a better post-performance experience because you're going to reduce your risk of overuse injury or a more traumatic injury as well. Some of these injuries are unavoidable. Sometimes we get ankle sprains and sometimes a little worse, but the more your body's prepared, the less risk you have going in and the better you're going to recover afterwards. So,
yeah. So athletes, parents, coaches, like we said, you can pull from these exercises if you don't already have some that you're doing. They're a great resource. And if you guys have any questions about these exercises or any comments about how to do them, make sure to comment or send us a DM. We can always answer and help you out on the specific exercises that we showed today. Just if you guys have any questions on them. But
yeah, and they're tried and true.
Mm-hmm.
They're boring. They're really boring.
Yeah.
But boring is not bad. So keep that in mind, everyone. Crazy Instagram exercises aren't necessarily what you should be doing. Boring is not a bad thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I know on one of our recent posts, actually, I don't know if anybody on here saw, but it was talking about what you do in the off season. This is kind of a little bit off topic, but it kind of relates to what we were saying because the majority of the comments on that post were, "What's an off season? I've never heard of an off season."
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So to all of you guys out there saying you don't have an off season, I get it, right? You're playing high school and then club and then beach for some of you in the summer, or you're doing camps all summer long. The recovery and the activation part will be so huge in your game if you're not taking that time off to help you withstand that volume that you're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's just something to think about for anybody that maybe commented that on that post specifically.
I know. I saw those. I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, so I think that's all we have time for today. In the future, we're going to have Kelly back on to really break down swings from kids that are through our masterclass or our clinics specifically, and what their process has looked like throughout those, and what she told them for feedback throughout their journey of working with Powercore 360 and Kelly and all of our other coaches. So that'll be really fun to break down in the future with Kelly. And we're excited to have you back on then in the future, Kelly. So that'll be awesome.
It's super cool to see that. And once you watch a few swings and you know what you're looking for, the really fun thing really for athletes too is you can walk around a gym and you can see like, oh, you hear a ball hit really hard and then you watch that athlete a little bit and try to see what they're doing. And that's the cool thing about watching some good swings. You'll start to it'll be easier to identify the not so good swings. And I'm not talking about did they get a kill or not. I'm talking about how they swing at the ball. So you'll start to be able to identify, and maybe even in yourself, oof, I need to change my swing a little bit to give myself a little more heat on my ball and also to prevent injury. So
yeah, so that'll be fun to break down in the future. But thank you, Kelly, for showing and telling us all of the things for recovery and activation today. I know we could talk about this probably for at least another hour, if not another 24 hours on all the different things that you can do out there. But hopefully anybody listening, hopefully you got some good information out of this today. And for Powercore 360, we are live every single week. Wednesday, we will be switching from now on to Tuesdays at 4 p.m. due to a scheduling conflict. So next week will be Tuesday, and then for the rest of the summer, it will be Tuesday as well. Going into our clinic season and everything like that, it works a little bit better for schedules. So
awesome.
Yeah, if you guys want to watch in the future, do that. You can also check out our website to check out more from the masterclass, which includes a lot more work in the gear, like you saw me working with the band today. It also includes work in your Powercore 360 gear. This is the hip harness. We also have the torso harness and all the other bands, the arm cuff, everything that goes with it. So if you want to check that out, it is linked below. And same with any clinics. Our clinics are basically sold out. We have very few left. So if you have been wanting to come to one of our clinics, make sure you grab a spot now because they are going very fast. I think we already have like 18 clinics sold out or something like that. So make sure if you want to come this summer, you find a spot now because we can't really add any spots once they're all filled up. So yes. And thank you guys all for listening today. And thank you, Kelly, again for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.